Hi, I'm Maurice from Kaplena, and in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you how to create a codebook and apply that to a dataset of yours. If you are not already logged in, log into your kaplena.com account and go to the Manage Projects page, which you can find here. I assume you have already uploaded your data. We're going to use the Netflix reviews that we have uploaded in the previous tutorial. So I'm going to open this project and I will see all the questions belonging to this project. In our case, only one, called text. I'm going to hit the Start Analysis button to get started. The first step is selecting if this is an open or a list question. A list question is, for example, an unaided brand awareness survey or a top-of-mind question. Here, the system has already told us that this doesn't look like a list question, so we can only select open, which makes sense in our case. Open questions are more elaborate and they often include things like emotions. I can have a preview of my data by clicking the button on the left-hand side here and quickly checking what kind of verbatims are present in my data set. You can tell us what kind of survey or what kind of data set this is by choosing an option down here. This is only for us to improve. It doesn't have an influence on your analysis. I'm going to choose product perception here. In the second step of our codebook wizard, you can choose the basis for your codebook. There are three options here. If you already have a codebook, for example, if it was given to you by a client, then you can upload the file through this modal. If you have done a similar analysis in the past, or if this dataset is part of a tracking study, you can copy the codebook from another question. This is a very powerful option as it does not only copy the codebook, but it also applies the learning that the AI has attained from the previous dataset to this new dataset. If you start from a clean slate, as is the case in our dataset here, we can choose a template. Those templates are predefined by us and they are based on all the knowledge that we have attained through the datasets that were already processed on kaplena.com. If none of these templates fits your requirements, we have two very general templates, one the general NPS and the other just general, a pretty minimalistic template that you can choose as basis. In our case, we're going to choose the app template as it matches our requirements pretty well. Now that we have selected it, we can see the template here on the right-hand side. This also shows the basic structure of codes on Kaplena. Every code has two levels of hierarchy. There is the code category on the one-hand side. This is the higher level, more abstract level. And then we have the code name, which is the more specific thing. So for example, we have two codes with the category price, one being too expensive and the other being a cheap, affordable, good price. So I'm going to go ahead and select this codebook here. The final step of the basis view is to choose if we want to have auto-generated codes by the AI in the next step. This means that the AI will look at our data and try to determine which topics are relevant and add additional codes to our chosen template here. I'm going to leave this activated as it is by default. Now the AI generates these additional codes, which might take up to half a minute, depending on the size of your data. In this final step of the codebook wizard, we see all our codes and all categories. And the goal of this step now is to review this codebook and adapt it to our specific requirements and also maybe add additional ones as we see fit. Every tile here represents one code category, and every category can contain one or multiple codes shown in here. Let's have a look at a specific code and its elements. A code always has a name. The name is very important. It's not only for us to recognize it, but the AI also takes the name into consideration when applying the automatic coding. We have the code ID, which is just a numerical representation of the code that you can use when exporting the data. If you don't require this, just ignore it. We then have the code description. This can be a more elaborate description of the code than is given in the name, but the code description is not considered by the AI when doing the automatic coding. Finally, we can have key phrases in our code. The key phrases can help the AI understand what you mean by a specific code, but they should not be used excessively. For example, a key phrase here could be costs too much. But this isn't really necessary, as our AI already knows that cost too much is a synonym of too expensive. So key phrases are only necessary if you want to guide the AI in the right direction because you've seen that it doesn't recognize some things, or if you use specific abbreviations which are part of the slang of your data set and not common knowledge. So I'm going to remove this again here. We can now start to clean up and adapt this codebook to our liking. For example, I'm going to remove a few of these codes over here, as I don't think they are really saying a lot. And I can also start to merge codes. For example, I could merge this problem code into the bug code which already exists. I can also remove entire categories if I don't think they're necessary, or I can of course add new codes at any time. If you are interested in seeing where a code is being applied, you can double-click a code and the verbatim browser will show up here on the left-hand side, which shows where this code is being applied, or you can also just browse through the rows and see how they would be coded automatically. Whenever you update the sample, it will take a couple of seconds to compute this, as it's quite a computationally expensive process. So a little pricey here was coded with the too expensive code, which I have expanded. If I remove this filter again, I can see all the verbatims with all the codes that have been applied so far. So I've now skipped a couple of minutes of fine-tuning this codebook, and this is the result I am left with. You can see that I have a reasonable number of categories and a reasonable number of codes. If I go to my preview window here and update the sample, I don't apply any filter here at first, then I will see that most of the verbatims have a code, which is obviously the goal that we are looking for here. This is it for the codebook generation wizard. Once I hit save, the coding will be applied to our entire data set, which can take a couple of minutes, and then check back with our next tutorial on what is up next.